got on the stage,
Right.
But first things first, priorities.
Yeah,
here,
yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. That has been going on. I doubt any of them have really slept at all because the mind must be going with all the sort of possibilities. Who can I have for this? Who can I have for that?
Right.
What do I have to do to get this neighborhood and all that? So no, that race is going on as we speak.
So all these races going on underfoot, the special elections and the senatorial elections, and this year. Are you tired? Is there voter fatigue? What do you think?
Well, look at the turnout. I mean, it's I forget what the numbers are, but it was only 30% turnout.
About 112,000.
Yeah, 120,000.
Out of
112,000. Yeah,
112,000 out of 360 some odd thousand
like
votes,
that.
right?
So it makes you wonder, what were the other 70% of the people doing? I mean, that's like 200,000 folks that had no interest in voting, and so that troubles me. And I heard Secretary of State Galvin doing an interview on the radio today, and he was suggesting that these numbers were still encouraging given the amount of candidates, the amount of elections that have gone on over the last 6 months and last year. But I don't see how that's an encouraging thing when 30% of the turnout. I just will never.
Especially coming on the heels of the presidential election.
I just don't.
Where the turnout was just incredible, and I know you had a role in that, Steve, here in the city, and but
I think it's inexcusable.
Like the other end of the world, and it is surprising because and of course you're preaching to people that either don't care or they're converted. I mean, literally, mayor of the city of Boston has more impact on
your life,
on the quality of life of people that live here than.
And you don't vote. 70% of the people don't vote.
Than the president of the United States.
Let me offer you this, though. So let me offer you this. Okay, so folks were saying it's great to have all of these candidates, but could it be that the wealth of candidates kind of not necessarily confused the electorate, but it was just too much? I mean, you've got 12 folks that you have to listen to and choose from, when a lot of them were pretty close on the issues. I mean, their thought patterns and the way they expressed what they would do as mayor was pretty close in line. Do you think that said, folks just said, you know what, I'm going to sit this out and wait until the general, get it down to 2, and then we'll take it from there?
And maybe it's the downside of all this civility, people are so inured somewhere between reality TV shows and anything, you can get anything on online and social media, and et cetera, et cetera. Maybe it didn't quite have the drama to also kind of drive it. Again, a plus and a minus, an up and a downside to that. Hard to tell.
But we've got many more elections coming up. I mean, next year, 2014, you've got all the constitutional offices. You're going to have a couple of special elections thrown in there, I'm sure, somewhere. So
county races that
are
really exciting.
And so this is what I'm saying, that, if the voter is fatigued, get over it.
Yeah, that's exactly
really,
right.
because there's much more coming.
Step up. Do your part.
These are important races. Look, I want to ask you one question, and we're going to go to a break, and on the other side, I want to talk to you about the citywide and the city council races. But, real quick, Joe, who wins? Who wins this mayor's race? Who's the next mayor of Boston?
You really put me on the spot. Right now, I would say it's John Connolly's to lose. But I do not count Marty Walsh out at all because he is, and I'm not suggesting that John Connolly hasn't worked hard and won't be working as hard, but I know Marty Walsh, and I know his work ethic, his habits, and he will not be outworked.
Yeah.
So I think it probably might come down to a misstep on one of the other's parts. I think it'd be very close.
Yeah, definitely very close. And I'll go with Walsh because I just think that perception, again, a lot of this has to do with the perception that he's really going to fight for you. He comes more across, at least in my mind, that he will actually get it done. Now, he's a union guy. That may scare people off. They don't know. Conley has sort of the air, and it's the classic town gown. Here's a Harvard guy. He's a lawyer versus this blue-collar recovering alcoholic. I'm always leery. He's like sort of Joe Frazier and Ali. Joe Frazier, I don't know. He's going to punch you. He's going to be there. You're going to have to beat him pretty bad. I can remember John Lewis down in Atlanta against Julian Bond. Right? I mean, where that guy just knocked on every door. He just would not be beat. So very close. But I still think at the end of the day, this is a union town. Very supportive of union folks. And I think that's going to give him the edge.
Beautiful, beautiful. And as the host of the show, I don't have to say who I think. And so with that, we're going to go into a break. And on the other side, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the city council races. Please do stay tuned.
Jangan awal.
This song was created with heartbeats of children in need. Find out how it can help frontline health workers bring hope to millions of children at everybeatmatters.org.
Welcome back to Common Ground, an inside look at Suffolk County. I'm your host, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. Now, we talked about the mayor's races, the candidates and all that they did in the first half of the show. Now, for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the citywide races. Howard, let me ask you, were you surprised to see that Ayanna Presley topped the citywide at-large slate?
She's got her message resonates. She's been able to do this twice now. She's a factor. She was very quiet in this mayoral campaign. I didn't see her endorsing anyone or showing up at any event. So she kept her own chips in her own pocket.
Right.
But to top the ticket in a crowded field.
Yeah. She pulled in 42,000 votes, 16% of everybody that voted. That's pretty impressive.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And has done it twice now. So I like the fact that Mike Flaherty's back in the house.
Well, we're going to go to Flaherty in a second. Do you think she becomes, or makes a strong case to become the city council president now?
I guess she does.
What do you think, Joe? Does she have a strong claim to that?
That might be the most incestuous pool to ever walk. She may not want to be city council president. I think she has her eyes trained on, again, waiting to see if that congressional seat opens up. And but she may have some company. It may be the same kind of thing. Many of her colleagues suddenly joining her. So that's not a certain thing. But she certainly has showed well, and she did show well again. Question I have is, does she endorse John Connolly in this race? He backed. There's be a lot of pressure on her to do it. Now, and she can beg off and say, I'm on the ballot too, I don't want to, and no one would blame her. On the other hand, John Connolly,
helped her,
put his arm in the hill, and I don't know how much it helped, but it didn't hurt, certainly.
And he definitely stood behind her.
And he stood behind her.
Wow, interesting. That's a good point. I'd actually forgotten about that. That's a good point. So look, what's old is new again. Talk to me about Mike Flaherty, or the return of, Mike. I think he fell in the second slot. He came in second place, right behind Ayanna. What do you think about that, his return?
Well, there was no focus on the race, zero. The mayoral race sucked up all the oxygen. Yeah. So, literally most people were walking in there and saying, what names do I recognize? And so it gave, a lot more strength to incumbents and, virtual incumbents.
Right.
And Flaherty, by his tenure in the council in the past, you'd have to say where he finished might be a little surprising. This is a guy that lost in his first comeback bid 2 years ago.
Right.
And of course, you want to talk about the Menino machine weighing in, certainly had some impact on that. But he looks pretty comfortable, and incidentally, this field looks pretty set at this point. There was a big gap between the fourth and fifth place finishers, and the mayor's race will still continue to suck up a lot of the oxygen, and you could well be seeing the top four being elected to those seats.
Talk to me about. Oh, go ahead. What do you
Well, the new addition of the top four. I mean, Steve Murphy is a great politician. He's been around.
Stalwart. He's been there a while.
He's
right.
that solid, steady. He's going to be in there. But Michelle Wu was a very, very nice change. I think she has a great message. An Asian American woman that worked for Elizabeth Warren in her campaign. Smart, Harvard-trained lawyer. I think she, and that's the other thing we want to see, because you see how often these races are coming up. Who do we have on in the Paul Tuckett League in the politics? And I think
Who's on the farm team?
Yeah, who's on the farm team? Who the guys coming up training? And so you got a strong person in Ayanna. I think Michelle Wu will be a very vocal and effective city councilor in her stint there. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more excited about some of the blend of the old and new school on the city council.
I think the real battle actually will be for the fifth and sixth spots, because of course if Ayanna were to be, if this scenario plays out and she were to be elected to Congress, well, her seat opens up, and these are at large.
Or if
seats.
Murphy stepped off, and there was some
Murphy's
buzz about
been
him going to treasurer or something like
talking
that.
about
Right.
going, running for treasurer,
Right.
and maybe the third time's a charm for him. And so potentially the fifth and sixth place finishers could end up in those seats as well.
And we did.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, and it maybe, again, this is another crazy thought, that given the newness of whoever the next mayor is going to be, that the city council really can take a little bit more of a vocal and active role in actually serving as the watchdog to the budget and holding hearings that are important to the community. Again, it's not as a slam dunk with Menino in office,
right.
But now I think there's an open door to be a little bit more of an adversary, at least for constituent services.
Well, either one of those